It is time for a little project for you to do. I call this project Two Sides of the Story. This was the image that inspired me, where you're looking at basically the same scene, but the drastic change in color and brightness and kind of what's going on affects how we perceive both sides of that one story. So it will be your job to find an image and split it down the middle like this and make some adjustments to tell those two sides of the story. Now, the first thing you need to do is go on Pexels and find an image that you like for this project and save it to your project file, your folder that you've created, and then open the file. I'm going to assume that you've done that now, and go ahead and open your file. So remember, you can open here, file open, click and drag, or open up your file folder and right click, open with Adobe Photoshop. Okay, so this is the photo that I've chosen. It's going to be a pretty simple comparison, but the first thing I want you guys to do is take a look to your left. All of these options on the left are your toolbar. All of these options at the very top are your menu. And these options over here are your panels. You need to make sure you can see layers. If you cannot see layers here, go to Window at the top of your menu bar and check layers. If you ever lose it, this is where you can adjust what you see on the right here. Layers. We'll talk more about that in a hot second. First, I want you guys to crop this photo. Hopefully you guys have all messed with some photos on your phones enough to know what crop means, but if you don't, all it means is we're cutting it down to a certain shape or size. So if you go on the left here and you hover over this tool, it'll show you that it is the crop tool. And you click it and it gives you the little bounds of the crop. So you can either manually adjust it whenever you're working, and it shows you the rule of thirds if you wanted to follow the rule of thirds, or like what we're going to do today, you can do a restricted crop. So we want the width times height times resolution. Up here in our menu bar, that's where I selected that. It was on ratio, now it's on this, and we're going to type in exactly what we want it to be. So I want it to be 5 inches by 5 inches, and you can see it automatically jumps to that particular size. I can still drag the picture around to make the crop go where I want it, but it will remain a 5 by 5 inch box. Once you are happy with it, you can press enter or this check mark. If you are unhappy with it, you can do the circle with a X through it, the Ghostbuster sign. But I'm happy with it because you and I want to do a 5 by 5. Forgot to mention before, which led me astray, is that you need to type in inches here, because before when I just typed in 5, it automatically set to pixels for some reason. So make sure you type 5 space IN so that it knows inches, and then I've got my 300 pixels per inch. Then we hit the check mark. Now, if you ever have issues seeing your image in the screen, you can go to View, and what I like best is Fit on Screen. You can zoom in and zoom out as much as you want, but Fit on Screen will automatically pull that in tight so that you can see the whole thing fit on your particular Photoshop screen. Pretty convenient. Now, the very absolute best thing about Photoshop, in my opinion, and many others' opinions, is this layers function. So layers are kind of like papers stacked on one another. So if you think about the pages of a magazine, if you cut a hole in the cover of the magazine, you would see through to the next page. That's essentially kind of the way that Photoshop layers works. So I want you to right click on background copy, which will generate always and forever anytime you open a file, and duplicate layer. You'll see here you can start labeling it. If you want to get into more complicated works of art on Photoshop, it's a good idea to label these. Say if you were drawing on a hand and then a foot on another layer and then an eye on another layer, and then click. You always want to create a duplication of your background copy so that you have that original as a backup, essentially. Now, I'll show you with a little bit better visuals what it'll look like whenever you hit these eyes, but essentially the eye means can you see it? If it's there, that means yes, you can see that layer. If you click it and it goes away, that means no, you are not seeing that layer. As of right now, we are looking at this background layer. Well, if I click that, now we're looking at the background copy layer. So it's very important that you note which line is actually grayed out so you know which layer you're working on. Okay, so I'm actually going to duplicate this again. And here's an example of when you might want to start labeling, because we are doing a 2 sides of the story project. So we're going to be altering either side. So I'm going to say left side. And if I want to rename this one, I just click it on the letters and do right side. Yeah. So this background copy is at the bottom of the list. That means it's at the bottom of the stack. This is the top of the stack, middle of the stack, bottom of the stack. Right now they all look the same, but they won't always. So let's talk about a selection tool. You can see this box, this rectangular marquee tool, to make a selection. If you held down the corner, it would give you some different shapes to work with, but I want rectangle. And this is going to be good for making selections of big chunks of areas if you want to just change the coloring on those specific areas, or you want to delete chunks of areas. This is one of the options. So I'm on the left side layer, so I'm going to delete the right side here. So I'm going to click and drag. You see how I'm losing part of this bridge here? I don't want that. So I'm going to redo the selection. Well, how do you do that? Either Control D for deselect, or you can go up to your menu bar at the top and click Select, Deselect, and do it again. Not quite how I want it. Control D. Maybe if I start down here, it'd be a little bit better plan, huh? There we go. Okay, so all this I am pressing delete. You'll notice I didn't quite get the top up here, so I'm going to select that and press delete to make sure it goes away. And you can see over here by this grayed out area, that's what I've deleted. If I didn't want to see any of those layers underneath, I could unclick the eye and you can see exactly what I have left. I had left one little notch there. Select and delete it. Okay. So now I don't want to see the left side, but I want to see the right side. I can see it, but I'm still selected on the left side layer. Make sure you click right side layer or whatever your layer name is. And I'm going to do the same thing. Click and drag. And delete. I don't want to select anymore, so I can click off or Control D or select deselect. Okay, so my theme is going to be a night versus day theme. So I'm going to show you guys how to take any layer or any selection and adjust the coloring on it. So I've selected left side, and if you go to image adjustments, it's going to give you all of these different types of options. The ones you'll use most often are brightness and contrast, levels. If you get more advanced, you'll work with curves. Then you've got your hue and saturation, color balance, black and white. I want a night and day look, so I kind of want it to be bluish, purplish. So I'm going to work with color balance first, because you can do multiple of these. I'm going to make it a darker blue, kind of like at night. You can see I'm toggling these over, maybe a little more purpley instead of greenish. That one doesn't really make a good difference for me either way. And you can select preview and deselect it so you can see the original versus the one that you've adjusted. Once you're happy with it, click OK. Let's say I want to make this even darker because it is supposed to be nighttime. So I went to Image, Adjustments, and let's do Brightness. Since it's dark, I want to go less bright. And again, you can check the preview box, and when you're happy, click OK. Happy with one side, you can move on to the other side. And the same way, Image, Adjustments. Make sure you're on the correct layer. So let's see, color balance. It's daytime, so I'm gonna make sure I've got lots of yellow, some cyan, and I can preview. Oh yeah, that's definitely brighter. And then my brightness, I'm gonna increase quite a bit. Look at that, who wouldn't want to be on the beach on that type of day? And okay. Once you've made the adjustments you want to either side, now I want to show you how to do something new. So remember I said this was like basically your canvas. I want you to extend that canvas without extending the picture. So here's how we're going to do that. Go to Image, and you'll see Image Size and Canvas Size. Image size is if you are shrinking or enlarging your actual photo file size, which we don't want to do. Right now we've got it 5 inches by 5 inches. That is the size that we want it. However, we want the canvas, the background, to increase. So you're going to click Canvas Size. And you'll see here that it automatically sets to pixels. Again, go ahead and change that to inches. Right now our canvas is 5 by 5 inches. I want to create a black background, so I'm going to change this over to black. You can also do it automatically like that. And I want it to go on top, any extra space. So I'm going to bring this down so you can see that anything I add is either going to go on the left, top, or right. And I'm going to change the height to 7. So what this should do is it'll take these blank 3 boxes and add my 2 extra inches. Okay, so the reason why we're not seeing anything, any color, is because I don't have the background layer visible. So if I click it visible, now you can see the black showing through. And I want to fit on screen. There we go. Now you guys are going to learn to add text to your project. Over here on our tool side, we've got our horizontal type tool. If you hold it down, you can see some other options. Vertical type tool. Don't even ask me about these. I can't use those. But we're going to use the horizontal type tool. So click and drag for the space that you want to type in. And looks like it's giving us some pre-filled text, which we can't see it because it is black on black. So we need to change that coloring to white. You'll see up here where it gives us all our text options on the menu, you can change the color. For this project, I want you to change it to white. And then I want you to type what your two sides of the story are. So mine are day and night. And go ahead and use the and sign so that we are all consistent. Highlight it, just like in Microsoft Word where you could do left align, center align, and right align. We're gonna choose center align, and I want you to make the font 36. Let's do this. Let's make it 48 point font. And you can click off of it, and there you go. I don't love the positioning of this. As you can see, day and night is its own layer, which I can make visible, not visible. I could change the grouping. However, I just really want to move that layer around. So this top left tool is your move tool, and you can click and drag. So I kind of want it to be more centered, just like that. And you know what? It's really bugging me that day is on the right and night is on the left, opposite of this. So I'm going to do night and day. There we go. And I just double clicked on it to type on it, and I was in that layer, so let me do it. Now I want to move it around again. There we go. Now I want you to save this project. So go to File, Save As, on your computer. And remember, I want you to create your own folder for this, and this project is Two Sides to the Story Project. So I've created that folder, and I'm going to save my PSD or Photoshop file as Two Sides of the Story 1. That way, if I make multiple copies, I could do 2, 3, 4. It is in Photoshop format, and save. Just click OK for that. But you're not done yet. You've got your Photoshop file. This is the file that is going to maintain all of your layers. However, for turning in projects this year, I want you to save it as a JPEG as well and turn it into Google Classroom. So I am in the Two Sides of the Story project folder. It's titled Two Sides of the Story 1, which is fine, but I need to change the format to JPEG. And then click Save. And it's going to give you these options. Basically, your high quality is what you're looking for, and it's going to be set to that automatically. So you just click OK. And now the file that is open is your JPEG file, and you can upload that to Google Classroom to turn in your assignment. That was all. I hope you learned a lot and had fun.